The Edmonton Oilers are near the top of the NHL standings, more than 2 months into the NHL season. We're going to be at the halfway point of the season come around Christmas time. However, the Oilers, they had a great start to the season. They won 5 games in a row. They had a record of 7-1 to start the year, but they haven't gone on a winning streak of any kind. They haven't won more than 2 games in a row since then. What can we attribute this to?
Well, obviously, the Oilers talked about getting off to a good start this season, and they wanted to create a buffer, basically. That's what the good start does. And that 7-1-1 start, they won the first 5 games in a row, allowed them that buffer where they could play 500 hockey and then hopefully put together another run towards the end of the year. What's happening now is that the Oilers got off to that great start, but they've really kind of leveled off now. They're winning 1, losing 1, winning 2, losing 2, and they can't get any traction really. And I think one of the biggest problems with the Oilers right now is that they're playing down to their competition. They're losing to teams below them in the standings, as we saw the case on Sunday night against Buffalo. And that's a bit concerning if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, that you're losing those games, because those are the games that are really going to come back to hurt you at the end of the year when you think about you lost a point here, you lost 2 points here, you lost a couple of points here. But there is some concern that the Oilers aren't able to get on a run like they were at the beginning of the year. And at the beginning of the year, McDavid and Draisaitl were playing fantastic. They were getting outstanding goaltending. They're still getting very good goaltending. McDavid and Draisaitl are still playing fantastic, but it's not at the level where they're taking over games. I think teams are now really concentrating on shutting him down. The Buffalo Sabres did that on Sunday. They did a good job of trying to keep everything to the outside. They back up now and really kind of load up the zone when those 2 guys are on the ice. And basically teams are just trying to survive during those shifts. So I think the Oilers are going to have to find a way to get some more secondary scoring. I know they had a little bit on Sunday. More secondary scoring. And they have to really start to put some wins together, and they have to put 60 minutes efforts together. I think on Sunday they didn't have a very good first period. They played really well in the second, and then the third was kind of an even off period, and then they ended up losing in overtime. So there's a lot of things to fix for this Edmonton Oilers team. I know they're in a good spot right now. They're second in the Pacific Division, a point behind the Arizona Coyotes, but they have to get something going because there's a lot of good teams in this division that are kind of chasing at them.
Part of the reason why the Oilers where they are is because their special teams are the best in the NHL, or among the best. The best penalty kill in the league, or one of the top 2 penalty kills in the league, and the best power play. Like the power play percentage, they score on almost 1/3 of every opportunity. Here they are, not going on a 5-game winning streak or whatever like they had at the beginning of the year, because their 5-on-5 play has been very pedestrian.
Well, yeah, their 5-on-5 play hasn't been very good at all, actually. It lasted a while. And you look at the special teams, and a measure of special teams is what you do is you add the power play percentage and the penalty kill percentage together. And if you're over 100, that's excellent special teams. The Oilers are close to 120 with a 32% penalty kill, and they're scoring 1 goal on every 3 chances, and they're killing off penalties at an 85% rate. So the special teams have been fantastic, and they've been carrying the Oilers, especially through this last little stretch. Their power play has been great. Their second unit actually scored on Sunday, as opposed to their first unit usually getting all the goals with McDavid and Draisaitl. But I think one of the issues is that the Oilers aren't drawing enough penalties. If you're gonna have an awesome power play, you want to draw 3 to 4, 5 penalties a game. They're only drawing 1 or 2 or 3 penalties, so I think they need maybe a few more penalties to kind of get more power play goals. I think right now the special teams is what is pulling the Oilers in the right direction. You're right. 5-on-5, they're not generating enough because they're not generating enough from the second through the fourth line. I think they're generating a lot of chances on that first line. Now that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is back, now that Zach Kassian is back, I think that'll change a little bit. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was a big loss. Losing him for 6 or 7 games, that was tough on the Oilers because they don't have a lot of depth up front. If those guys are missing, if you're missing some top 3 forwards, they're going to be in a lot of trouble because they're just not getting any contribution from the bottom 2 lines when it comes to 5-on-5 play.
Yeah, and obviously when it comes to the 5-on-5 play, you're involving your bottom 6 forwards more with the penalty kill, and in particular the power play. It's McDavid and it's Draisaitl, those guys on the power play. I mean, obviously Draisaitl is actually a big part of the penalty kill as well. So, obviously the Oilers lean on those 2 players quite a bit, no matter what the situation is. And I guess all of this comes around to what are the Oilers going to do to address not having enough depth of forward. I mean, we have been seeing more secondary scoring lately. But now the big trick is, do the Oilers think they have enough horses to go deep in the playoffs? And do they need to add another horse? I mean, we talk about trades all the time, should the Oilers trade for Obviously Taylor Hall's name has been bandied around all year, but adding another top six forward, whoever that might be, is that what the Oilers should do, or should they, not, roll the dice, trade some prospects away in hopes of, somehow, some way going as far as they can in the playoffs?
Well, I think the importance, the Oilers are going to have to see how important it is to make the playoffs this year. I know that they were challenged. At the beginning of the year, Ken Holland said, this isn't a rebuilding year. We want to go and make the playoffs. Now they're in a situation where some teams are going to be unloading salary, unloading some players. They're going to go into the rebuilding. When you get towards January and February, as you're inching toward that trade deadline, teams start to separate themselves, and you know that the contenders from the pretenders. And I think that the Oilers, if they want to be contenders, they're going to have to add some bodies to that lineup, because I don't think this particular lineup, when it comes to March or April or even February, when the games get tougher and the checking gets tighter and they're concentrating all their efforts on McDavid and Draisaitl, if they don't get some secondary scoring, if they don't have other players pick up their game, like James Neal, for example, he's a great power play guy, but he doesn't do much 5-on-5. So I think Ken Holland has to go out there and get another forward that can contribute offensively. Checking wise, I think the Oilers do well, but they need some guys that contribute offensively. You have to take some of the pressure off those top two guys, because they're not going to keep scoring at this clip, because teams are starting to concentrate a lot on them. And basically the word is out. You stop the Oilers' top line, or you limit the Oilers' top line, because those two guys are pretty tough to stop, then you can beat this hockey club. And I think that's what we're seeing right now with teams that are coming in here, especially teams that are at the bottom of lower than them in the standings. They're just focused on McDavid and Draisaitl. Let's shut them down. If the Oilers are going to beat us, they're going to have to beat us with the bottom end of their lineup.
I mean, even if, say, the Oilers, on paper at least, heading into the playoffs, because you never know what's going to happen in the postseason, just the experience of getting in and playing in the playoffs in general, I think we all want that, obviously, as fans, but for the team themselves, for McDavid, Draisaitl, everybody on the team, having that playoff experience moving forward is invaluable, is it not?
Oh, it is. But you can't have the two best players in the league miss the playoffs. You can't have McDavid miss the playoffs three out of the first 4 years that he is here. You have the two leading scorers in the NHL. They're probably going to end up 1-2, just the way things are going right now. This team has to get in the playoffs. You can't not have that kind of production from your top two guys and not get in the playoffs. So there's going to come a point where they're going to be screaming for help. And it kind of harkens me back to Ralph Kruger was here on Sunday, back when Ralph Kruger was coaching the Edmonton Oilers. They were in a position to make the playoffs. They were screaming for help. They didn't get it, and the bottom fell out. They didn't make the playoffs. I hope that this team isn't in the same situation where McDavid and Draisaitl are screaming for help, saying that we need some help. They have to go out and get something to help this hockey club, because I'd hate to see this hockey club falter at the end, since they've been playing so well up to this point.